Hello, everyone, and welcome to the humanities. So this semester, we are going to be studying together the wonderful discipline that is the humanities. The humanities comprises many different disciplines. Unlike how people sometimes think the word humanities means, the word humanities doesn't mean the study of human beings, right? It doesn't mean humans as a whole. What it means is the study of those disciplines that are comprised within the humanities. So the humanities is a discipline, and anything that falls within that, right, is within that discipline. So things like religion fall within the humanities, philosophy, art, sculpture, architecture, literature, poetry, plays, theater, all of these things are comprised within the discipline of the humanities. So that is what we will be studying as we study the humanities this term. So we'll be studying, basically what we study in the humanities is culture. So we go back and we look at cultures and we say to ourselves, what are some things that we can grasp that these people appreciated based on these cultural artifacts, right? So for example, in a modern time, right, if someone was to pick up something, like let's say, for example, someone was to pick up Kim Kardashian's selfie book, and 100 years from now, and that person is trying to say to themselves, what did these people value based on this artifact? Right? Based on, Kim Kardashian's selfie book, what does that tell us about the culture overall? Not about this person, not about the book itself, but about what that book represents in the culture of that time period, right? Some people might go back and say, for example, look at all these things that they studied, right? And think to themselves, what do those things mean? Right? What does it mean? Certain things that we appreciate, right? So let me show you a little bit of what I mean about why we study the discipline of the humanities. In this welcome video, that's what I'm going to talk a little bit about. I'll talk about why do we study the humanities? I'll try to be brief, I promise. And then at the end, afterwards, I'm going to do a quick tutorial on how to get you access in this class and where to get started. So stay tuned. All right, that's what we're going to do now. Okay, so this is a question that I get a lot whenever we first start talking about the humanities, which is, why do we even study the humanities as a discipline? Personally, I think there are three good arguments for studying the humanities, other than it just being a really interesting discipline, but there are reasons why we study the humanities, right? For example, you study math to teach you problem solving, right? And logic. You study philosophy to teach you abstract concepts and how to conceptualize things in a more abstract way. There are lots of reasons why we study certain disciplines, right? But in the humanities, there's a reason why we study the humanities. So the reasons why we study the humanities are, they teach us where we've been culturally, right? So, culturally, how, society's progressed up until this point. They also show us a lot of why we value what we value. So how did we arrive at this point in these values? They didn't just happen. They happened as a collection of values that progressed over time, right? So we recycle values from other cultural archetypes, and we create those and modify them, and we adapt them into our own modern society. We also, so they reveal how we've gotten where we are, right? So we are a collection of everything that has come before us. We are a collection of all the civilizations that existed up until this point. And while, yes, we are a unique individual civilization that has different appropriations and cultural values than civilizations that came before us, we have adopted those cultural values and modified them to fit our time. It's important to know that every civilization that came before us thought they were the most modern, the most unique, the most, time-breaking, the most all sorts of different types of things, right? Pliny the Elder, right, in ancient Rome, he's like, why are the kids going so crazy? It just seems like nothing's the same. It is the thing that everybody has said from the beginning of time. In a lot of ways, culture changes, people groups change, the way we view places change, right? We haven't always viewed places as far as nations, but human beings don't change. So we are creating and valuing similar things and similar ideologies. And one of the things that can show us that is, learning about the humanities. So here are some things, right, that show us how we arrived here. So how did we arrive here? Why, for example, do people nowadays go to therapy? Or, why do we even have psychological medicine, right? It didn't just start with Freud. He was one person, but there was more to it than that. If we look all the way back to the ancient root of something, we will find, right, that Socrates is the first person to really think that we know of, right, in ancient Western history, that thinks about the mind in a different way, right? He was interested in the mind and in the psyche, and that interest created a platform for the field of philosophy, and philosophy eventually led to psychology. And of course, that led to people like Freud and people like Jung, right, creating a certain discipline. But there was more to it than that. It had its origins in something else. Why do we build monuments? Well, we have built monuments since prehistorical times. Our first monuments were things like Stonehenge, right, or other types of megaliths, or or cromlechs, or domelechs, things like this. We have been building those types of structures, wanting somehow to be remembered, since we were in our modern form of Homo sapiens. Homo sapiens want to leave something behind. It is just a characteristic of who we are. And that's what we do now, right? So we create more monuments now. Why do we, for example, even have American democracy? Well, many people could say, right, that it began in ancient Greece, but of course, ancient Greece was a slightly different form of democracy than we have in American democracy. So American democracy was actually, it was not just based on Athenian democracy. It was based on other things, right? Like the writings of Locke, right? And some other important philosophers that were circulating in that time period around the Age of Enlightenment. So we have all of these people, right, that influence and that come to be a part of why certain things develop. Oh, goes to show you how long ago I made this slideshow. So why do we have books, right? Now you can go to a Barnes and Noble, you can go to a Books A Million, there are books everywhere. If you can see behind me, I am obsessed with books. We have tons and tons and tons of books. I know it's not, reading isn't as much something people do anymore, but why do we even have books? Well, books come from epics, right? So the first epic of the ancient world is the Epic of Gilgamesh, which started in Mesopotamia. We have been writing our histories from the very beginning of the first civilizations. So Mesopotamia and Sumer, right? Those are the first civilizations. And even then, we wanted to record something and leave something behind, right? We wanted our deeds to be known to others. And so now, because of things like the Epic of Gilgamesh or other epics that then followed, like the Odyssey or the Iliad or the Aeneid, right? Those led to things like Harry Potter, right? Those are our modern epics. Modern epics are things like Harry Potter, right? Or, Game of Thrones or other types of books, right? The Hunger Games. Those are all modern epics. Tales of of gallantry and heroism, right? Modern epics. So, why do we make movies? Well, movies have a long, long, long tradition. They date all the way back to the very first theaters in ancient Greece. This is the first time we see really drama in the way that we think of drama, right? So in ancient Greece and a lot of other kind of ancient theaters were not the way that we think of theater, but in Greece, we see the first kind of performance that didn't involve the audience. So a lot of ancient Greek theater was involved crowd response and was participation oriented. But eventually we see that mutate and become more like the theater that we know today. And then they started to develop, festivals where they would perform works of theater, and they would perform comedy separate from then drama and those types of things. Later, theater became things more like opera, although opera would have been considered like the pop music of its time. It's hard to believe now, right? But, opera was the Cardi B, Megan Thee Stallion of its era. And then past opera, we developed musical theater. And musical theater then gave way to films, right? So, and of course we know the first films, right? The films that existed in that early time, they weren't really sure what they were going to be, right? They wanted some type of storytelling. They weren't really sure what that would mean. They didn't really know what to do. And then, once the idea of film and something like theater blended together, right, then we have all of these wonderful black and white films that come out with people like Judy Garland, right, and Rita Hayworth, Deanna Durbin, Fred Astaire, Ginger Rogers, so we have all of these wonderful, wonderful individuals, that are coming out, and then, and it mutates, right? So slowly it leaves behind those musical theater origins that we see in like the 30s, the 40s, even into the 50s. And then, we get people like Katharine Hepburn and Cary Grant, and, people that are just acting, rather than having all of these other elements and components to it. And in the 60s and the 70s, films start to really change. And eventually they become the kind of films that we see today. So these are, kind of some of the things that influence our day now, but nothing influences it more, right, than the Industrial Revolution. The Industrial Revolution is perhaps the event that has had the most cataclysmic impact on the world ever, right? The inventions of things like the steam engine and all these different types of technologies led the way to all the things that we know today, right? You sit in a car, you have all this polyester, you buy clothes online, you have an internet, you have a phone, you have all of these types of things. Everything that you do in your life actually is influenced by the Industrial Revolution that happened hundreds of years ago. Literally, your existence now only exists because of the Industrial Revolution. It revolutionized the way we worked, the way we traveled, the way we ate, the way we purchased all of our commodities. It influenced the way we communicate with each other. And it has literally changed the shape of the world. And it changed the world for not just people in the upper classes, but for people of all class systems. So from rich to poor, the Industrial Revolution has left its thumbprint on everybody's life equally. So that is one of the more interesting things about the Industrial Revolution. All right. So of course, why do we study the humanities? Because the disciplines that comprise the humanities continue to impact us today, whether we see it consciously or not. All right, now let's look at the course material together. And I'm going to stop sharing this screen and I will share our course screen and I will show you how to access the information that is in the class. As you can see, we have a lovely little welcome screen that is in the course already. The best place to access all the information in the class is going to be in the content portion of the course, okay? So here, right, you're going to see the beginning, right? So obviously this is where you want to get started. You're going to view all of this information. Right now it's gray because it all starts tomorrow, or it starts September the 14th, but you know, it will be starting soon. Here, right, we have all the different modules, and you see that each module has deadlines associated with it. You notice that they all open at the same time. That is to say, they all open at the start of the term, but they all end at different times. So one module ends every week. Once the module ends, you will no longer be able to access any of the material that is in that module. So you really need to be able to, you need to do your work by the deadline. Once the deadline closes, all of that information will be gone and you will not be able to access it anymore. You will not be able to submit anymore. It will just disappear. Okay. So that's something to kind of keep in mind as you progress through the course. So you see that all these modules are together, modules that will be done the same week, because of course this is a slightly compressed class because it's in a Flex C. So modules that will be done together are put in the same module. So see, modules 5 and 6 are in the same module. Modules 7 and 8 are both in the same module. Modules that are listed individually are only to be done in 1 week. So as you can see, every single module is listed here. Whenever you look at any module, the information, everything that you need to do in that class is in that module. First, you can see, right, that I have placed right here, right, everything that you need to complete and when it is due by at the start of the module. Then you can also find the module objectives in the introduction. You can find lectures and all sorts of things in these different kind of module 1 portions. This one just has a Word document, but there are web pages for all the other modules. And those have hyperlinks that should take you directly to the place where all those things are in the class. But just in case, I've also listed them separately as links in each individual module. Additionally, you can also access them by simply going to things like assignments and discussions, right? This is where you'll find all your discussions for the term. There aren't any listed because they all open tomorrow. And also here, Dropbox, right? You can find all of your Dropboxes here, right? And again, they're not open only because they open tomorrow. Any quiz that you need to complete in the course will be listed here. There aren't any because, again, they open tomorrow, but they will be listed in this section here. If you need anything else, all you have to do is just email me and let me know. I would be interested if y'all are interested in creating some lecture content for you. Normally when I have a humanities class, I do a lecture, but those are face-to-face classes. So if having a little bit of a lecture to help you complete your assignments is something that you would like to have, just write me and let me know. All right, well, I hope this tutorial has helped you. I hope it has also encouraged you to want to study the humanities. If you need anything else in the process of this course, all you have to do is let me know. I am here for you. I'm here to help you. And anything that you need, that's what I'm here to provide. So, all right, I hope that y'all guys have a great start to your week. Don't forget to complete the assignments that are due this week. You're meant to take a survey. You're meant to or complete a survey. We're also meant to do 2 discussion boards this week that are getting to know you discussion boards, and you're also meant to complete a backup plan, right? So that you can realize how to manage your time a little bit better. Remember that even though this class functions over 13 weeks. It is slightly more compressed than normal. So you will be expected to be responsible with your time. You will be expected to manage your own time well. If you have an assignment that is going to be due on Sunday, and you know that Saturday and Sunday you're going to be busy with a family event or with something else, you really need to plan ahead. If you know that you're taking this class online because you're working and you need to manage it around your work schedule, that's something that you just need to figure out how to do in a way that is effective. Because again, remember, right, once everything closes, it just does not reopen. Okay, well, I hope that that has helped you a lot. As I said, I am Miss Macbeth. I have been teaching the humanities a very long time, since I started at the college, which it's over a decade ago. So I really hope that you enjoy this class. Personally, I have to tell you, I love the humanities as a discipline. I find it incredibly interesting. Since actually, beginning to teach the humanities, I have read so many history books, and it's a topic that I thought that I would never be interested in. But because I wasn't really that interested in history in high school, but learning about the humanities has given me interest in things that I never thought that I would be interested in before. I always loved books and literature and architecture and things like that. But studying the humanities has given me a love for other disciplines, things like art that I didn't appreciate as much. You can see my Venus of Urbino above my bookcase there. Things like art, right? And particularly a real passion for history. And so I really love a lot of the things that have to do with this class. I really get excited about it because I just think it's really interesting. I really love studying how we got to this moment in time, right? Why are we here? And it's very interesting to me. I really hope that y'all guys enjoy it. I hope that you love studying it as much as I do, and that we will have a great semester together. So get stuck in the class this week. And if you need anything, just let me know. Bye now.